no Republican senators voted for this COVID relief bill. They all said no to it.
A reporter at CNN spoke with Republicans in West Virginia to get their thoughts on Biden's COVID relief bill. These are Republican voters. So just a quick overview of the relief bill. It includes $5,600 for the average family of four, or $1,400 for individuals that make under a certain amount. $3,000 to $3,600 in a child benefit that gets paid out monthly in a sort of a quasi-universal basic income, and also lowers healthcare premiums to the point where nobody is paying more than 8.5% in healthcare premiums. Now, with that in mind, check out what these voters in West Virginia, again, these conservative, Republican West Virginia voters, how some of them feel about this COVID relief plan.
We did meet a couple of people in town who agree with Republicans in Congress who all gave the bill a thumbs down.
I don't like none of the stuff they're doing right now. There's a lot of waste in the money.
But almost all we talked to here feel differently. Shiron Ray Justice has a disability and hasn't been able to find a job.
How do you feel about the fact that no Republican senators voted for this COVID relief bill? They all said no to it.
Yeah, that's some hogwash bullshit there. I mean, they should. Yes, apologize for my language, but they should loosen up a little bit, you know what I mean?
Kevin Johnson, the laid-off miner, says he voted for Donald Trump and usually supports Republicans, but disagrees with how the GOP has handled this. With this aid, he says, he will now be able to
pay up the rent and pay up the bills, because we're behind, you know, as well as everybody else. I'm sure I ain't the only one that's got a tough time.
Tough times for so many. And now the hope things will start getting better soon.
All right. You see there. As I've said a million times, as I said during the Democratic primary, as I said back in 2016, progressive economic policies are incredibly popular. So even though Biden's bill really does not go far enough, doesn't have a wage increase, for example, that was taken out of the House bill, it does have these direct payments that right now people desperately need. And not a single Republican lawmaker voted for this bill, despite the fact that Republican voters actually want it. To give you some more data here, not just three people in a video, some polling on this. So this is a Morning Consult poll. Overwhelming bipartisan support for the American Rescue Plan. 75% of all voters want it, but when you break it down even further, 90% of Democratic voters, 59% of Republican voters, and 71% of independents. But look at this. 59% of Republican voters support the COVID relief bill because, again, Republicans also need these cash payments, need this direct relief. And to break it down even further, this is a Pew Research poll finding a huge gap in support for Biden's relief bill between lower income and upper income Republicans. Nearly 2/3 of lower income Republicans support it. Showing you the real divide here, at least in terms of Republicans, is the class divide, where you have the lower income Republicans, 63% of them supporting the COVID relief bill, but upper income Republicans at 25%. And again, knowing that not a single Republican lawmaker voted for this bill, who do you think they represent? Do they represent the ones that want it or the ones that don't? Obviously, they represent the upper class, the billionaires, corporations. And in many ways, as I've said a billion times, Democrats do as well, just to a slightly lesser degree. Evidence this COVID bill. So it really is incredible. Just how little Republicans care about their actual base, their voters, and how they always get away with it. And ultimately, this gets down to cultural issues versus economic issues. Do these conservative voters care more about cultural issues? Do they care more about voting for racism? Or do they care more about improving their material conditions? And by and large, it appears they care more about the cultural issues. They will go broke. They will pay more for health care just so that they can support somebody who's racist. Because that's the only explanation here. And a lot of it as well is, people grow up in a certain culture. Republican Democrat is very much, and for many people, like more of a team sport as opposed to actually politics and voting for who helps you. So looking at it through that lens as well, there's just a cultural assumption almost that whoever you voted for as a kid, who your parents voted for, that's who you're going to vote for. And that goes both ways as well. There are many Democratic voters that also look at this as a team sport as opposed to looking at the issues, which is why, especially, I mentioned Facebook earlier in this live stream. When I post a video critical of Joe Biden, especially on Facebook, where there's a lot of older voters, a lot of boomers, I get tons of comments of people commenting, criticizing me for criticizing Joe Biden, because those kinds of voters exist no matter what party. But when it comes to an issue like this, where people desperately need COVID relief, majority of lower income in both parties desperately want the bill passed, and not getting a single Republican vote for it, it shows you just how disconnected Washington is from the average individual.